Welcome back, artistic ladies and gentlemen, to another Wizard Wednesday Challenge episode in this PTCGO series. The Wizard Wednesday Challenge is going to change from today onwards. For those of you familiar with it, I have revamped the entire challenge because I wasn't exactly satisfied with how it was working. So what I've done is I've cut out the deck wizard completely. No more deck wizard in the challenge. Instead, the challenge is going to be the following. Every Wednesday, I am going to be building a deck from scratch without any testing, and I'm gonna take it into the versus ladder and try to pull off a win with the deck list. And I'm also going to challenge you, give you a contest where I'm going to ask you to either improve on my deck list or to suggest a deck list of your own. If you do, you will be eligible to win some booster packs. More about the contest at the end of the deck analysis in this video. Right now, I'm going to point you to the deck building video for today's challenge, where I built a deck based around Serperior from the Fates Collide expansion, as well as Beedrill. In that video, I guide you through my thought process for building today's deck from scratch. If you are interested in that, click the video annotation on the top right of the screen. If you're not interested in it and just want to watch the battles or the short version of the deck analysis, stay on this video and use the timestamps on the left hand side of the screen, or use the timestamps that you will find in the description. And we are going to dive right into the deck analysis of the Serperior Beedrill deck right here. Let's start off with a brief look at the Serperior from the Fates Collide expansion with the coil attack hitting for 40 damage as the base. In the next turn, this Pokemon's attacks do 60 more damage to our opponent's active Pokemon, so the coil hits for 100, and its second attack, the slashing strike, hits for 140, and this Pokemon can then not use this slashing strike during the next turn, sadly enough, so can only use it once every other turn. But both attacks only cost 1 energy, meaning that they are very efficient, very energy efficient attacks. Also important to note is the 2 retreat cost of the Serperior, which is gonna be important in this deck, so I'm gonna come back to that later on more in depth. Serperior evolves from Servine, and Servine is nearly as important as Serperior in this deck because of its Serpentine Strangle ability. If we evolve Snivy into Servine, we may decide to flip a coin, and if we flip heads, we paralyze our opponent's active Pokemon. I run a 4-3-2 line of Snivy, Serperior, Snivy, Servine, and Serperior, and this Serpentine Strangle attack is going to be mainly used in combination with Beedrill here. Beedrill with the Allergic Shock attack. During our next turn, if the defending Pokemon is damaged by an attack, it is knocked out regardless of how many hit points it has, and that's why we are going to use this Beedrill mainly when we are facing EX heavy decks or decks with Mega Pokemon. We are going to try to hit for the Allergic Shock against my opponent's active EX Pokemon, and at the same time, during our turn, we are going to try to evolve a Snivy into a Servine and flip heads on our coin flip so that we paralyze the opponent's active Pokemon, which prevents my opponent from retreating his EX in the active spot, because if he would do that, if he would retreat that EX, the effect of the Allergic Shock would actually get reset, so he would deny us a knockout on that EX, and that's why we are going to try to flip that heads on that paralysis, make it so that my opponent cannot retreat his active EX, and then in the next turn we can retreat our Beedrill because it's got free retreat into our Serperior, hit for a coil for 40 damage and knock out our opponent's active EX Pokemon, and at the same time we actually power up our Serperior's slashing strike to hit for 140 damage in a turn after that. Now, if my opponent is only playing EXs, we will want to retreat this Serperior at some point into our Beedrill to hit for another Allergic Shock, and that's why I do play 2 Floatstone in this list, since this Serperior has a 2 retreat cost and I only play 8 energy, so retreating by paying the retreat cost with energy is not really a viable option because of this low energy count. Only 8 energy since our attacks only cost 1 energy, same for the Beedrill. It does have a Twin Needle attack, but we are very, very rarely gonna use that, only in occasions where we don't have a Serperior ready to attack with the coil attack. So a 2-2-2 line of Beedrill and a 4-3-2 line of Serperior. Less Pokemon in the Beedrill line than in the Serperior line, because in the current meta, EX heavy decks are not the most popular. The most popular deck is Night March, which is not an EX heavy deck, and against Night March we will want to use Serperior, hit for the Slashing Strike, and at the same time attach a Bursting Balloon to our Serperior. That way, if the Night Marcher attacks us, or the Night Marcher that my opponent promotes attacks us, that Night Marcher will get knocked out as long as it doesn't have a Fighting Fury belt attached. We can also use Servine against Night March to stall if we are not able to get out our Serperior in time, and that's another reason why the Serperior line is thicker, just because we want to have Servine available and Snivy available to evolve into Servine, so that we can try to stall with the paralysis. Now, because this is a deck with quite a lot of evolution Pokemon, we need some ways of searching out these Pokemon, and we are going to do that using these Ultra Balls. Ultra Ball for Shaymin to draw into some more cards and dig for our Pokemon that way, or simply Ultra Ball for a Pokemon itself. And we are also going to use our level balls, 2 level balls, since we do have quite a lot of below 90 HP Pokemon like the Weedle, the Kakuna, the Snivy, and the Servine. And finally, also a Bridget here. Bridget will allow us to bench Snivies and Weedles at the start of the game preferably. Most of the time we are going to go for Snivies, because we need those Snivies on our bench to evolve them into a Servine whenever we need to. And then there's also this Revitalizer. Revitalizer has great synergy with the Battle Compressor that you see here. Battle Compressor is going to be used to discard supporters like this AZ or the Bridget, get them back into our hand, but also is going to be used to discard some of our Pokemon like the Servine and the Serperior, because we can then get them back with a Revitalizer in our hand. And if we've got a Forest of Giant Plants in play, which I do run 4 copies of, we can immediately evolve a Snivy into a Serperior. Forest of Giant Plants is very, very important for this deck. Without it, this deck would be literally nowhere, I think, nowhere near as playable, if it is playable at all, because I haven't tested it. So 4 copies of Forest of Giant Plants as the stadium of choice. I quickly also want to mention something about this AZ. This AZ has 2 functionalities. One is for picking up Serperior if it's stuck in the active spot, if we don't have a float stone for it, or simply to pick up a Pokemon if it's damaged and we want to get rid of that damage. Another is to pick up the Serperior so that we can actually get back a Servine in our hand and then evolve the Snivy once again in the Servine. If, for example, we flip tails on our coin flip, we'll want to pick up the Servine and try again to get the heads that we want to get. And I believe that's the most important parts of this deck covered. The Bursting Balloon, very, very useful card here, not only for the Serperior against Night March, but generally for all of our Pokemon against any deck to stall, since most of our Pokemon have quite low HP for stage 2s. 120 and 140 is not a lot, and the other Pokemon also have a low HP like this Kakuna. We do have a lot of possibilities to get back Pokemon from our discard pile if they were knocked out. If our Pokemon are knocked out, our opponent actually puts 3 Pokemon in our discard pile, because we have stage 2 line, so we actually need quite a few possibilities or quite a few ways of getting back Pokemon from our discard pile. One of them is the Sacred Ash, the other is the Revitalizer, and last but not least, the Super Rod. Super Rod will allow us to shuffle back some Pokemon as well, but Super Rod is mainly going to be used to shuffle back energies, because sometimes it happens that we discard or have to discard 3 energies with our Sycamore, which is pretty painful for us since we have so few energies in this deck. So Super Rod is much needed then in that case to shuffle back some energies. 3 Sycamores and 2 End for draw support, and 1 Listener to Listener out things like a Hoopa or a Shaymin and knock them out with our Beedrill very easily. And that's it for the deck analysis, meaning it's time for this week's Wizard Wednesday contest, where you get a chance at winning some booster packs. Up for grabs today are 5 Ancient Origins booster packs. What do you have to do to be eligible to win some of these packs? All I'm asking you to do is to create your own list based around Serperior. It doesn't have to include Beedrill, just make your own list and send it to me via my Facebook page. Take a screenshot of the list. You can find a link of my Facebook page or to my Facebook page in the description, and I'll also paste one in the comments down below. Even if you don't have a Serperior in your collection, you can still make the list. All you've got to do is click the show not owned button, which allows you to add a card to your deck builds that you do not own. And as you can tell, I can still take a picture of this list even though this Alakazam card is grayed out. The first person to send me their list, as well as the second person to send me their list, those two people will be entered and have a chance at winning the packs. I will pick my favorite list from those two people. The winning list will receive 3 booster packs, and the second one, the runner-up, will receive 2 booster packs. If you are wondering whether or not 2 people have already entered, just check my Facebook page. I'll put a notification there as soon as 2 people have entered, so that you know you don't have to enter anymore, that the contest is closed. And that's it. It's time for us to go into the battles and see if I can pull off a win with this deck list. Sake is going to be our opponent with a colorless and a fighting deck. Likely something Garchomp or Lucario like. The past few days I've constantly been running into fighting decks. I don't know why, even when I'm recording. We mulligan in our starting hands, and we get an AZ in it as well. But no draw supporter. Luckily we don't get a basic there. That was not a very good hand to start with. There's a Snivy and a Sycamore, and a pretty decent hand actually. I forgot who is going to go first. Are we going to go second? I would not mind going second here, so we can attack first. Oh, Regirock, which is grass weak. Oh boy. Poor opponent here. We can actually quite easily deal with these Regirocks. We can one-hit KO them with our Slashing Strike. But actually the best thing is just for us to go is to go with a coil, hit for 80 because of weakness, and then keep going with the coil, because then the coil hits for 100 times 2 because of weakness is 200. That is a ton of damage right there. We shall bench our stadium. I'm going to discard one stadium and the Serperior, I think, and grab a Shaymin. We might be able to draw into a Revitalizer. We'll see soon enough. Do we have a Revitalizer in our deck? We do have one copy of it, so only one. Do we have another Serperior? We do. That is good. And then we shall battle compress. I'm gonna compress probably one Beedrill, because we have 2 copies of it. And one Lysander, as well as, how many VS Seekers do we have? 4 VS Seekers. Also the AZ. AZ is going to be pretty important. And then let's attach a bursting balloon to our Snivy. Bench this Shaymin and see what we can get. We need an energy, a Servine, and a Serperior. There is a Snivy. That is good. We definitely want some more Snivies. We also get an energy. Here is the Servine already. Let's try to paralyze my opponents. Can we flip heads on the paralysis? It's not a heads. I'm gonna bench another Shaymin. Try to find the one and only Serperior that is left in our deck. We can actually get it with the Revitalizer here, so I'm gonna look for another Snivy. And then I think I might go with an AZ, maybe. Or just use the Bridget for good measures. Let's grab the Beedrill and the Serperior. We need to grab the Beedrill and evolve. And then we shall hit the Bridget for one last Snivy. I don't think Weedle is going to be necessary right now. We're just going to work with the Serperior for now. Hit for the coil for 80 damage. And the next turn our opponent can hit us for 40 damage or 60 if he finds a DCE, but then we are just going to return the favor here. Hit with our coil for 200 damage on the other Regirock, because my opponent would knock himself out due to the bursting balloon. There's the Lucario. I should have looked for a Weedle then. He does play Lucario. I should have known. I could actually AZ up with this Snivy here. I could for sure do that. AZ it up. And then bench a Weedle. It's a waste of a VS Seeker, but we would have had to discard the VS Seeker anyways with the Sycamore. So, an attachment to the Lucario. My opponent is definitely going to go with the Lucario here. Oh, and a muscle band. Wow. Okay, we get another energy. I'm going to do as I said. Or maybe I'm going to pick up a Shaymin instead. Let's pick up a Shaymin instead and discard the Shaymin with our Sycamore in the next turn. And we'll just hit for the coil. My opponent should not be able to one-hit KO our Serperior in the next turn. So we'll just hit for the coil for 200 damage due to weakness. What do we get from the prizes? Is it gonna be another Shaymin? Oh my goodness, another Shaymin. We've used 2 level balls, so I need to find the Weedles by sheer luck, by drawing into them. An energy, my opponent is going to hit us for 100 damage onto the Serperior. We are going to respond with 140 damage from the Slashing Strike and hopefully a Servine to paralyze my opponent. There is a Fighting Stadium. My opponent does not have any benefit from that Fighting Stadium against our Serperior. 100 damage and 3 cards for my opponent right there. What do we top deck? What do we top deck? A Kakuna. We'll have to discard that Kakuna together with the Beedrill. We get the Forest of Giant Plants, an Ultra Ball. I need to find a Servine here. So I'm going to have to discard the Forest of Giant Plants and that energy, I think. Yeah, I'm going to have to discard that energy and maybe not the Forest of Giant Plants, maybe just the Floatstone. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the Floatstone and keep that Forest of Giant Plants in my hands, because we already have 2 in the discard pile and I don't want to discard that Super Rod. So let's go with this. Discard the Floatstone, grab a Servine, try to stall here. Try to stall a little bit. I could grab a Weedle for sure, but I want to try to paralyze my opponent. Can we hit heads? We do flip heads. Look at that. And we shall hit for the Slashing Strike for 140 damage. In the next turn, we'll go for a coil if my opponent doesn't find a switch. If it does find a switch, there is a switch. Does he have another switch to switch back? We can actually license out the Lucario, and he does have another switch to switch back. What the heck was that? Who saw that coming? No one. Well, I kinda expected it a little bit, but I didn't think it would be possible. 2 switches right there. Wow. So we need to find our Serperior right now to knock out this Lucario. There is the Weedle. Let's bench our Stadium. Then let's attach a... Might as well attach a Bursting Balloon. Shuffle back the Serperior as well as the Servine. And 1 energy. Yes, that should be enough. And we'll hit the Sycamore. Try to find the Serperior. And some more energies actually, because we only have 1 energy in play. There is another energy and there is the Serperior, the last card. Wow. And I shall start powering up another Snivy actually. Coil for the knockouts, 40 damage, and then it will be a knockout on the Regirock. My opponent needs to find another basic or it's gonna be GG. Serperior is basically pulling us through this game by himself. A very strong card. We get the Revitalizer, so I can actually look for my Beedrill with it and power up a Beedrill. We'll get hit for 100 damage once again, but my opponent is going to put 60 on himself. There is the 60 from the Bursting Balloon, and I'm going to license out that Lucario here. And yeah, I'm gonna attack with my... No, we don't have a Floatstone. We don't have a Floatstone. Let's get our Beedrill going. Let's also get back a Snivy maybe from the discard pile. Yeah, we shall get the Beedrill going. If only I had a Floatstone right now to retreat my Serperior, but I discarded the Floatstone earlier on. We'll attach an energy and we are going to license out the Lucario. I think that's our best bet. Yeah, we can then hopefully knock it out in the next turn. I'm not too scared of the Regirock. So we'll hit for the Slashing Strike for 140 damage. My opponent can respond with a KO. But both of his attackers are in range of a knockout, with our Pokemon. With our Beedrill, actually, we can hit for the Twin Needle, try our luck, and try to knock him out that way. But I think I prefer to go with a Serperior if I can. Missile Jab for the knockout for 50. We shall promote a Snivy with an energy attached to it. We shall start digging for another Serperior. Probably with a Sycamore. Not gonna bench that Weedle, it's not really necessary. Do I attach this to the Beedrill? How many energy do we have in our discard pile? Two in play and 2 in hand, so we have 2 more in our deck. I think I will attach it to the Beedrill. You never know, we might not be able to power up a Serperior, then we can hit for the knockout with the Beedrill. Where is our Sycamore? Here it is. We'll bring ourselves down to 6 cards. What do we find? There is a Servine. That's already really good. So we'll bench that Servine. We even get a Float Stone. And we get heads. Look at that. Even if our Beedrill fails, the Lucario will be paralyzed. Can my opponent pull off another switch, double switch, if the Lucario stays alive? I think I will keep this Bursting Balloon in my hand here. I'm not going to attach it just yet. We are going to hit for the Twin Needle. Try to get that knockout. It is a heads, and it is 2 heads actually. 100 damage on that Lucario. Bring ourselves down to 1 prize, and I think that means it's GG. The Regirock is the last Pokemon from my opponent. He could find another Lucario and retreat Regirock into a Lucario. But then we should be able to find a Listener ourselves. We have 2 Listeners in the discard pile and 3 VS Seekers used. There should be one more VS Seeker in our deck. Even attaching a Bursting Balloon might suffice to stall long enough to find the Listener if my opponent benches a Lucario. A Judge from my opponent is going to judge us down to 4 cards. Put that Servine back into our deck. But we get it back into our hand anyways, together with the VS Seeker, so he basically lost himself the game here. He was probably using a Judge to find a Lucario, but that's it. We shall hit for the knockouts. Well, actually, I need to find... I need to find the Serperior, so we are going to shuffle back the Serperior and the Servine, as well as the Shaymin, so we can draw into some more cards. And might as well bring back the Snivy and the Weedle. And then it's time to go with a Sycamore, the last Sycamore. We're going to evolve. I could go for the Twin Needle, but I really don't want to risk it. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Sycamore and try to find my Serperior. Can we hit it? We have 2 more left in the deck, I think. And yes, we do. We did hit it. There it is. There is the knockout. So we shall retreat, hit for a coil for 100 damage, and take this game graciously with our Serperior. There is the win that we were looking for in the versus ladder. We dealt 780 damage, partially thanks to weakness, versus 450 for my opponent. Serperior MVP versus a Lucario EX. Look at that. Let's see if we can find ourselves another opponent. Gooball is going to be our next opponent with a Lightning, a Psychic, and a Water deck. A very peculiar combination, probably Manectric Regis. We will definitely go first, try to see if we can bench some Snivies and maybe find a Beedrill for the Manectrics. We do start off with a great hand here. That is a fantastic hand. We have an N, we have an Ultra Ball for Shaymin. The only thing we really need is... oh, we see some hammers. The only thing we really need is a Forest of Giant Plants. That's what I was looking for. Maybe this might be a Toad deck, Toad Manectric. Yes, we will draw into one more card. Oh man, another VS Seeker. Oh, and a Trubbish. We will have to go with the N here. I'm gonna grab another Snivy. Discard this energy here. Yeah, I'm gonna grab another Snivy. Or maybe I should get the Weedle out. Let's get the Weedle out for good measures, and then we shall end ourselves. We start off with a pretty good hand, but it ended up being quite a bad hand because we drew into so many cards that we cannot really use right now. We don't want to use those bursting balloons. We can't use the VS Seekers. There is a Viper and a Shaymin. This is shaping up to be a bit of a better hand here. So I think I'm going to get rid of the Servine and this Ultra Ball and grab another Snivy. Yes, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm grab another Snivy. We need to have as many Snivy ready as we can. And then we shall bench our Shaymin. I could use my Super Rods, get back the energy, the Servine and the Kakuna. But I think I'll hold on. I'll hold off for now. Hold on to the Super Rods and just draw into 4 cards here. We get 2 Servines and a VS Seeker and an N. I might have to use the N in the next turn. Let's attach an energy to the Snivy. I know my opponent can discard it, but that would force him to make use of his hammers. So we want to see those hammers get used as early on as possible, so we don't have to deal with them in the late game. And we shall end our turn. This Garbodor is going to be troublesome for us because it prevents our Serpentine Strangle ability. So we need to make use of the ability as soon as possible. What is my opponent going to get out? Maybe a Hoopa, and a Hoopa for his main attackers, as well as a Shaymin, because he got the Ultra Ball. We've already used 3 Ultra Balls. Wow! That's a little bit worrisome, because that makes it tough for us to get out our Serperior. What was that? Metal Lightning Energy. Is that a Toad? That is a Toad. And I think we'll see Manectric as well. Crushing Hammer. Heads right off the bat. We are going to shuffle back that energy with our Super Rod here. Make use of that Super Rod before we see a item lock from the Toad. Alright. Let's shuffle back the Servine and maybe not. Let's maybe go with the Kakuna. And now we shall evolve into the Servine. Can we paralyze this Trubbish? We cannot, but we will try again. Can we paralyze it this time? Yes, we can this time. And then I'm gonna use my VS Seeker already, because my opponent is going to item lock us at some point, and we shall end here. Unfortunately, we have to end, give our opponent 6 cards. We get an energy which I'm going to gladly put onto the Servine and start attacking. And we are also going to bench another Snivy. And I might as well use this VS Seeker to grab the N once again. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just go with the Sycamore in the next turn. Then there's no point to using the VS Seeker. So we shall hit for the Vine Whip for 20 damage on this Trubbish. This should be quite an easy game for us to deal with the Toad here if my opponent doesn't have super scoop ups. Another hammer, another heads. That's 2 hammers down the drain. My opponent can use 8 hammers at most if my opponent uses Puzzle of Time. And 8 hammers, if all of them hit heads, that's exactly enough to get rid of all of our energy. Well, actually not, because we shuffled back 2 already with the Super Rods. So I think my opponent needs something like 9 hammers, but I think she also runs Crushing Hammer, Team Fly Grunt rather. I think she runs Team Fly Grunt as well. Headringer onto the Shaymin, that's okay. We can retreat the Shaymin by attaching an energy if we really have to. And there's the Manectric. The Manectric that we were expecting. Is my opponent going to opt to item lock us, or is she going to go with the Manectric? The Mega Manectric is troublesome for us because it has got free retreat, so we really need the ability from the Servine to deal with the Mega Manectric. But I think we might just see a pass of the turn. Because it doesn't look like my opponent is doing much of anything. One VS Seeker in the discard pile for my opponent. One energy. There's an energy on the Manectric. And another N from my opponent. So we are both ending each other. I think my opponent is looking for the Garbodor or a switch. Or a scoop up. If my opponent runs a scoop up. We get a switch. Wow, my opponent did find a switch. That is pretty lucky. And an overrun onto our Shaymin, I am assuming. Maybe not. Yeah, on the Shaymin, okay. So I know what my opponent is going to do before my opponent knows it, apparently. We need to use our Floatstone here. Need to make use of it right now. We will evolve into the Serperior. And then I think it's time to attach an energy to it for sure. Put a Floatstone on it as well. And we are going to grab an N with this VS Seeker. And try to look for some more cards with our Shaymin here. Can we find the Kakuna for the Beedrill, or can we even find just the Stadium that we are looking for? There's the Kakuna and the Stadium at the same time. Wow. We even get a Lysander. Excellent. I'm going to Lysander out the Toad, I think. And maybe I'm going to keep that Lysander for the next turn. And then Lysander out the Toad and hit with for the Allergic Shock onto the Toad. Or I could just Lysander the Trubbish. But that won't be a knockout on the Trubbish. It will be just short, just shy. What are we going to do here? My opponent can knock out this Serperior, which is a problem. With this Manectric, could definitely knock it out. So I think I need to go with the Toad here. Yeah, we are going to Lysander out the Toad. We are going to hit for a Slashing Strike onto the Toad. In the next turn we can go for a Coil. And then we are powered up to deal with the Manectric. But I think my opponent might be able to find a Mega Manectric before that happens. We do have our Beedrill right there, but as I said, it's not gonna help us much if my opponent can't freely retreat the Mega Manectric. If our abilities are shut down because of this Trubbish. My opponent's going to heal up 30 damage, which is okay. We hit for 80 anyways with the Coil here. I really want to find my AZ actually. AZ up a Servine. Or just find another Servine to use. What is my opponent going to do? She could look for an AZ herself or a scoop up. A switch would do the trick as well. Knock out our Serperior with a switch. But she is under a bit of pressure right now. We just see a Lysander for the Shaymin and is going to heal up the Toad, so we are forced to discard another energy, retreat our Shaymin here. We get a Bursting Balloon. Yeah, I have to attach that energy and retreat. I'm not gonna end right now. I'm just gonna retreat. Hit for the Coil for the knockout. In the next turn we will go with the N. Take 2 prizes here. What do we get from the prizes? A Sycamore and a Sacred Ash. This Sacred Ash might be necessary for us if my opponent finds an energy for the Manectric. A DCE actually on the Manectric. A DCE, wow. So our attacker for the next turn is going to be the Beedrill. A Skylab probably for a Spirit Link or an Ultra Ball. An Ultra Ball for a Garbodor or a Shaymin. But I don't think my opponent runs Shaymin. It's just a Fighting Fury Belt onto the Manectric. Oh, so we won't see the Mega Manectric. That is good for us, because then my opponents must retreat this Manectric here by discarding an energy or finding a switch. So there goes our Serperior. We are going to shuffle it back with the Sacred Ash here. We even get another one from the top deck. And then we are going to Sycamore ourselves. I might as well evolve the Servine on the bench. Attach a Bursting Balloon to our Beedrill. And we shall Sycamore, try to find an energy here. Ooh, I was a little bit worried there that we might not find it. And we even get the Servine. So let's see if we can paralyze our opponents so that we can make good use of this allergic shock. Come on, heads, it's tails. Bummer, bummer. But at least we put some pressure on my opponent there. He needs to retreat or it will be a knockout. He needs to retreat into the Trubbish. My opponent can definitely knock us out because we have that Bursting Balloon attached. Maybe I should not have attached that. I'm not entirely sure if it was a good play to do that, because he could retreat into the Trubbish, then attach a lightning energy, and then switch back into the Manectric. Startling Megaphone. Alright, so she might actually discard our Bursting Balloon. But that would also discard the Headringer, I believe. Team Flag Grunts, so she's really attempting to get rid of our energies. That's another energy in the discard pile, and the Bursting Balloon as well. We need to find another energy right now. Let's attach a Bursting Balloon to our Serperior. And then let's Sycamore try to dig for one more energy here. If we get it, that might be game, and we do get it. Let's put that onto our Serperior. Let's retreat. Hit for the coil. And I think that's a GG. He gets 2 prizes for this Manectric for all of our hard work. There is an Ultra Ball and a Level Ball. Yeah, I'm not sure how my opponent is going to come back from this. We can hit for 140 in the next turn. We have that Bursting Balloon attached. So if my opponent attacks with a Toad, we will knock out that Toad in one hit. And there it is. There is the conceit from my opponent. Toad Manectric versus Serperior and Beedrill stood little chance, I would say. Let's have a look at the stats. We dealt 300 damage versus 170 for my opponent. Serperior MVP versus Manectric EX. Let's see if we can find one final opponent. Alright, the last opponent of the day is going to be Jaren Jade 2 with a Darkness Colorless and a Water deck. Let's see if we can go first. Yes, luck is on our side. Well, we'll have to wait and see what our starting hand is. I'm not gonna make any premature judgments. Never mind, luck is not really on our side. That is a terrible starting hand. It's a really terrible starting hand. It is a Darkrai, and we top deck another Lysander. Let's discard both of them. I don't want to deal with any of these Lysanders and grab a Shaymin. We need to get our Beedrill going here. So let's bench this Shaymin, and we shall see if we can find anything useful. A Sycamore, there is a Level Ball. I'm gonna grab a Weedle actually, and I'm gonna discard my hand here. Unfortunately, I have to discard 2 VS Seekers as well as the Super Rods, but it is necessary. We need to get going. We cannot wait around, sit around. We get a Bursting Balloon, a Battle Compressor. I think I will Battle Compress the Bridget. AZ. No, I'm gonna leave AZ in the deck because we only have one more VS Seeker left in the deck. Discard a Battle Compressor and discards. Well, we've got 2. It's tempting to discard a Beedrill here because we've got that Revitalizer. I think I will discard one Beedrill. And we'll keep it at that. We have an end for the next turn. So we are not going to do anything else. I'm gonna leave the Shaymin in the active spots. Hopefully our Weedle doesn't get knocked out. We have to hope that my opponent doesn't Lysander it out and power up this Darkrai in one turn and knocks out our Weedle. It is our most precious possession right now. Max Elixir onto the Shaymin. Okay, kinda odd, but I think he wanted to use that Max Elixir because he was going to discard it with the Sycamore. But even still, I'm not sure if you want to put an energy on that Shaymin. Maybe my opponent is planning on Sky returning it. There is an Evil Tile, so lots of EX Pokemon. That's lots of work for our Beedrill to deal with. Oh, we get the Forest of Giant Plants. Excellent. Let's put the Bursting Balloon onto our Kakuna, because we are going to promote the Kakuna very likely here. And then let's attach an energy to the Shaymin, so we can potentially Sky Return if we don't get a Serperior set up in time to put some damage on my opponent's Pokemon after we've gone with the Allergic Shock. Do I actually use this Sacred Ash right now? I don't think so. I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna try to find a Revitalizer, and there is a Revitalizer and a Snivy as well, so we can even try to paralyze this Darkrai. Let's retreat into our Kakuna, grab the Beedrill from the discard pile, evolve into this Servine. Did I say Survivor before? I might have. I mix them up constantly, Survivor and Servine, and we shall hit for the Allergic Shock right here. This is gonna be a knockout on that Darkrai in the next turn if my opponent doesn't find a switch. A switch is all he can use, or a Scoop Up or an AZ, but I think my opponent only runs switches. I don't think he runs AZ. There is a one switch in the discard pile already, so it is quite unlikely that he runs 4 switches. Maybe he runs 2 or 3 at most, so he needs to dig for that other switch that he somewhere has in his deck. There's a Trainer's Mail, could definitely find a switch. AZ, he does actually run AZ, surprisingly. I didn't really expect that, because you don't have Dark Patch, but he can of course, get back energies with this Yveltal. He can definitely do that. But this baby Yveltal will still take some damage from the Bursting Balloon. So my opponent avoided the knockout right there, but just barely, and he couldn't use any other supporters because of that. He's going to power up the Yveltal EX. We shall retreat our Beedrill, I think, and we shall attack with the Survivor. I think that's our best play. And then we shall go with a Sycamore. Try to find some more Snivies. We can find one. Oh, that's not a Snivy. We have a complete Kakuna line or Beedrill line available to us. Do I go for a Shaymin here with this Ultra Ball? I don't think so, because I've already used my Super Rod. Quite a few resources are in the discard pile already. Might have to pick up a Shaymin with my AZ, so we will retreat into the Serperior. Could evolve into the Servine and try to stall against this Yveltal here, but I don't think it's worth discarding these energies. So we will just hit. We could actually hit for the Slashing Strike and get a knockout that way. And I think I will do that actually. I'm going to knock out this this baby Yveltal and take the first prize of the game. And I might just burn 2 energies, retreat this Serperior in the next turn, or pick it up with my AZ instead and get rid of 1 energy on it. So we can bench another Servine. Yeah, I think that's what I want to do here. This Yveltal cannot knock us out right now with the DCE. It's hitting for 100 and a Muscle Band. So with the DC and a Muscle Band, I mean. So he can definitely not knock us out. Oh, a Delinquent. We will discard 1 Shaymin. We'll also discard... This is tricky. Maybe not the Shaymin, maybe the Ultra Ball. And... 1 energy. This is a tough one. And the Revitalizer. I'm gonna keep the Shaymin for draw support. Yeah, I'm gonna discard that Revitalizer. I think we still have the Sacred Ash. Yeah, we do. So I'm gonna discard these 3. Daring play from my opponent, playing that Delinquent. And he's going to go for another Shaymin himself, I think. Yeah, there is another Shaymin. Daring play from my opponent. Because Delinquent with 7 cards, that's not typically a play you want to make. He does have 3 VS Seekers, so he could Delinquent a couple of times more. And a Max Elixir. Onto the Darkrai, as well as a Fighting Fury Belt. And there's an energy switch. He's actually going to switch onto the Eviltal, hitting for 130 right now. So just barely missed the knockout. I don't know why he switched that energy then. Not too sure if my opponent should have done that. We will pick up the Serperior, get rid of all damage on it, promote our Beedrill. So 2 energies in the discard pile. I need to be careful here about discarding energies, and then we shall try to paralyze the Eviltal. Can we hit the paralysis? We do hit the paralysis. We shall start powering up the Serperior once again. Do I bench the stadium? How many stadiums have we used? Only one. Yeah, I'll bench the stadium. Draw into 1 more card with my Shaymin. I need a bit of a better hand than just this 1 energy. Maybe we can find a float stone. That would be good. Oh, we actually get a bursting balloon. Let's put that bursting balloon onto our Beedrill, or maybe not. I'm going to wait for now, putting that bursting balloon on the Beedrill. I'm going to guess that my opponent cannot find a switch here. I could actually find a AZ, via Seeker for an AZ. So maybe I will put that bursting balloon down. This is a tough call. No, I'm not gonna do that. This Darkrai will only hit for 60 and a bit. It's not gonna be a knockout on our Beedrill. Unless my opponent uses some more max elixirs, but he's already used 3. So I'm just gonna keep the bursting balloon in hand here, because I don't think my opponent will be able to knock out our Beedrill, and then I can use this bursting balloon on the Serperior when I promote the Serperior, and I think it's gonna be more useful there. I'm gonna guess my opponent will not be able to pick up this Eviltal, and he does not pick it up. He does not pick it up. So he needs to find that switch here, or we will get a knockout on this Eviltal. Leaving my opponent only with a Darkrai ready to go. Counters the stadium once again, that's okay. Trainer's Mail for... Do we see the switch? Ultra Ball, no switch just yet. And I think we might just see a pass of the turn then. Fingers crossed. Oh, and DCE onto the other Darkrai. And there it is, a pass of the turn. We will get 2 prizes right here. 2 prizes indeed. And now is the time where we are going to use the bursting balloon. And we're also going to attach an energy to the Snivy. I'm not gonna use my Sycamore here. I'm just gonna hit for the Coil, which is a knockout on the Eviltal. Funnily enough, we get a Snivy and a First of Giant Plants. The Darkrai will hit for 20, 60, 70... 70 plus possibly another energy on the bench somewhere. That's 90. It's definitely not a knockout. Another Delinquent. I don't know what my opponent is trying to do with these Delinquents. So what shall we do? We shall discard... I'm not going to discard any energies. I'm just going to discard 1 Kakuna, 1 Snivy, and 1 Weedle, I think. Maybe the stadium, but the stadium is quite important for us. We have our Sacred Ash. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with this. I'm guessing we'll get our Sacred Ash sooner rather than later. And there is a Fright Knight Eviltal. If my opponent promotes the Fright Knight Eviltal, the Bursting Balloon won't do any damage, but it doesn't. So 60 damage onto the Darkrai, 60 plus 140 from the Serperior is not enough to knock out the Darkrai. So I'm a bit... I'm not sure if I should pick up the Serperior or not. Or should I license out a Shaymin? Maybe I should license out the Shaymin. Do I want to hit this Darkrai for 140? Not really, because it's not a knockout. So instead I'm going to license out the Shaymin and knock out the Shaymin with my Slashing Strike. Yeah, I think that's the best play here. I get 2 more prizes, and I'm gonna power up another Shaymin, possibly for a Sky Return. So we are definitely in the lead right now. We are looking pretty solid. Just need to get my Sacred Ash. What do we get from the prizes? A Survivor and a VS Seeker. Excellent. I can go for another Listener if I want to, and Listener out the Shaymin on my opponent's bench, or even that Evil Tall with the Fright Knight. Have it stuck in the active spot. Have it get stuck there. What to do with this last VS Seeker? A Listener is very tempting. I think my opponent does have another switch or a Floatstone though. There is a... Ooh! The N is coming down. The N is coming down. We get ends down to 1 card. We get a Serperior. So not very useful. Luckily we have that Shaymin for the Sky Return ready to go. Which I think I will do. I will hit for the Sky Return. There's a Shadow Circle. Or I could go for the Beedrill, hit for a Allergic Shock. And put some pressure on my opponent. Force my opponent to retreat. The Darkrai. There is a knockout. Whatever the case, I'm going to promote my Beedrill because it's got free retreat. The first prize for my opponent. Finally my opponent took a prize. Oh, there's a Sacred Ash. Excellent. Let's shuffle back. A Servine. A Serperior. Well, let's just go with everything here. We just leave 1 Snivy in the discard pile. So what do I do here? Do I go for the Allergic Shock? Put some pressure on my opponent. My opponent could come in with the Darkrai EX and hit for 70 or 90. 90 would be a knockout on our Beedrill. And then I'm left with nothing much to respond. Or do I go with the Shaymin-EX for a Sky Return to set up, but then I risk that my Beedrill gets Listenered out. My opponent has used 3 VS Seekers and 2 Listeners, however. So I think I might... How many Dark Energy are in the discard pile? 4 Dark Energy. I think I'm going to go with a retreat in the Shaymin and use... Yeah, I'm gonna play safe here. I'm gonna Sky Return, get some energies in my hand as well. And I'm going to promote another Shaymin. If my opponent gets a knockout and on that Shaymin, so be it. We just need to paralyze 1 Darkrai or need to Listener out a Evil Tall and take the game that way. I want to preserve my Beedrill here. I know I can power up another one, but I wanna keep this one in hand or on the bench, ready to go. It is a very powerful or very necessary attacker for us. Without it, we are kinda lost right now. Certainly because of these Fighting Fury belts. My opponent's down to 6 cards. Does he have a last Listener in his deck to Listener out his Beedrill? Because it would be a knockout right now with his Darkrai. And no, just a Dark Pulse for 100 damage. Oh my goodness. Incredible. We shall retreat into the Beedrill. We shall attach 1 more energy to the Snivy, I think. And then attach a Bursting Balloon to this Beedrill here. Bench our Shaymin, try to find a Servine and another Snivy. Which we do not. Wow, we actually miss out on it. We miss out on the Servine. That is huge. And that might actually put us into a bit of trouble here. I cannot believe we missed out on it. That is really huge. Well, let's go for the Allergic Shock nonetheless. If my opponent attacks us with this Darkrai, it will be in knockout range for our Serperior. If it retreats into the other Darkrai, that Darkrai will be in knockout range for our Serperior. And then it's still 4 versus 1 with the prizes. My opponent might even deck out before he can take all the prizes that he needs to take. If you're hearing bleep bleep in the background, that's my phone here. I'm receiving some messages. I'm gonna turn the sound down actually. It's pretty loud. I think my opponent doesn't really know what to do. He doesn't really know what to do. Even though he's got an opportunity here for him. If I were my opponent, I would possibly easy up that Darkrai maybe, and go with the Baby Yveltal, retreat into the Baby Yveltal and power up the Darkrai once again, so that the damage is not any longer on the Darkrai. But that might not be possible. My opponent might not have enough energy, or not might not have any switches to retreat his Baby Yveltal if he would do that. Here he gets our Weedle. Let's bench that Weedle. Let's attach an energy. Well, we don't need to do that. We can actually just sit for the knockout with our Snivy. We will take the game with our Snivy. Blood, blood for the knockout. Wow, that's ridiculous. Blood for the knockout. That's a ridiculous attack name as well. Whoever came up with that name, they must have been drunk or something. Oh, how are we going to call this attack name? Oh, let's go with Blood. Blood. My goodness. Pokemon, you are ridiculous sometimes. Well, that was a pretty nice last game, I would say. 300 damage versus 410 for my opponent. Serperior MVP versus Darkrai EX. Look at that, we won against a pretty competitive deck. Leave a like if you enjoyed this rather silly deck idea, and if you enjoyed my deck build. Don't forget to send me your own deck build if you want to enter the contest. I hope you have a truly Karptastic day, and I will see you on Friday with a Fun Friday episode.
Karp, 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 Karp.